All right, guys, we're back with Ain't Hard to Tell podcast extra. It's been a while since we had a chance to talk about a lot of hip-hop because we've just had so many guests here on the show. Dexter, Henry, Bryan, Fonseca here, and a lot has been going on in the world of hip-hop since we talked about Kanye making his crazy statements, which Bryan just absolutely loves. Ye dropped an album with Cudi. Also, album he produced for Nas. We're going to hit on some of that. The death of XXXTentacion. I always feel like I'm messing up his name.
You didn't want to go through with that name like fully.
Nah. I'm not gonna be like the XXX.
We'll just call him XXX.
Sound like we're talking about a porno site. No, not doing that. But there's a lot that's been going on in hip hop. A lot that has been consumed. Want to start off first. We had talked a lot about Nas. Whether or not we would listen to his album. His album came.
Hold on. Bury the lead. We also had the return of Freddie Gibbs.
Not the lead. No. You know, I forgot about that because we knew that would definitely be mentioned. Yes, Freddie Gibbs dropped an EP, and of course, in true Bryan fashion, he had to let it be known that he wanted the Freddie Gibbs to get out here because if you follow this man on Instagram, he's been promoting this project since it has been announced.
It wasn't announced; it just came out. Remember?
Yeah,
that day.
You were excited.
I sent you guys a trailer.
Yeah,
and the trailer's hilarious.
Nobody asked for it. Nobody wanted that.
Okay.
Producers, nobody asked for it. Nobody wanted it but you.
I don't care what people ask for. If I cared what people if I cared what people asked for. No, but if I cared what people asked for, I wouldn't be where I am today because nobody asked for anything I'm doing. So there's that.
All right. Well, now everybody's going to be like, man, don't give us any more of what you're doing.
I don't care what they want.
All right. We will get to Freddie Gibbs in a second. But with Nas, and the man next to me rocking the ESGN hat is a big Nas fan. Nas dropped his album called NASIR, or if you want to call it EP, because that's what it really is.
Yeah, it's really.
Produced entirely by Kanye.
I mean, I would even call it a mashup.
Yeah, what you listened to it, you know I was conflicted about listening to it. I listened to it without giving him the streams. I got through listening that way. We'll say that. What did you think of this project?
I begrudgingly streamed it. I'm still not thrilled about how he handled the Khalees situation. Not even like, whether or not he beat her, even though it sounds like he did. But it's just how he handled it kind of annoyed me. But I still streamed it at the end of the day. And I thought it was okay. It sounded like it was mashed up. It sounded like he just kind of, just did the verses, and I don't even know if he heard the beats ahead of time. You know what I mean? Like, it just sounds like it was rushed, put together, sort of lazy. That doesn't mean it wasn't very good, but, and my theory is that this isn't the Nas album done album. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not the album that Nas has been working on for how long he's been working on it. This is not the album where he told the New York Times it's going to be done in 2 weeks, like 2 years ago or a year ago.
Last summer, but yes.
Or Nas album done, or, I know Nas album. I know I said Nas album done, but we still got one more to do first on the DJ Khaled album. This is not that album where he's been working with multiple producers or whatever. But still, I mean, it's Kanye West on production, which, give or take, it could be good. Kanye West rapping, though, no, I'm not here for that. And on Cop Shot the Kid, that Kanye verse, please. After you're talking about all the Trump stuff, and you want to rap over Cop Shot the Kid, and we're supposed to forget all the other stuff? People are so stupid.
Well, let's also go into what he talks about in Cop Shot the Kid and the fact that he kind of tries to identify from the police officer side at one point in the verse. I'm with you on that. Didn't care for Kanye's verse on that. Didn't think we needed. Like the song. Like that beat.
We never need a Kanye verse.
Like the message from Nas overall. Although Nas has some stuff, and I'm going to give credit to this. Bomani Jones kind of has been shouting this out regarding Nas. Sometimes with Nas, you have to do some fact checking because he says things that are inaccurate at times, which he has done before on. He said on this album.
He said on this album before you finish that. He said on this album because it's in my memory now that Willie Hutch or Willie Lynch, I forget. Willie Lynch was a myth, and 10 years ago when he dropped Untitled, the very first line on "You Can't Stop Us Now," which was the second song on that album after the amazing intro over the J Electronica instrumental, was from Willie Lynch to Willie Hutch, "Right On with Superfly."
Yep.
I think that was the exact line. I may have that reversed, but that was it. And now 10 years later, it's a myth.
Nas also,
and the fact that he's working with Kanye, I'm like, oh man. Like,
Nas also incorrectly on ICANN talked about the person who he said Alexander the Great cut off the nose of the pharaoh, which wasn't true. It actually was Napoleon, but that's a whole another thing of inaccuracies that was there. As much as I like Nas,
he's still arguably the GOAT though.
Yeah, but there are some inaccuracies, and that's something we got to get into in another podcast about whether or not people hold people accountable for their inaccuracies in hip hop. So that's always going to be interesting here. My thoughts on the project were, it was okay. I wasn't blown away. I listened to it basically. I eventually decided to listen because I was like, hey, let me see if he will address the situation with Khalees. I was very disappointed that there was no addressing of that in the album. I was also disappointed there was no addressing of this outside of the album. So overall, I think the project was okay. I do agree with you. Some of the songs on the album, it sounded like it was a mashup.
Yeah.
Like he recorded the verses and then the beats were put under it. On other songs, I thought you could tell where it really fit and he had a good pocket. I think there was one song, Bonjour, that I really enjoy a lot.
Yeah, there's some good songs
Adam
there.
And Eve
but there's
solid.
There's not a lot of things that
But
you're going to really
nothing I was
revisit.
really dying to go back to. So, that's kind of where I stand with that. We'll see. I think Nas will probably be more intriguing giving a listen the next go around. But Nas, definitely don't like how you've handled this or handled the situation and rolling this out. And also, as an artist, too, with everything Kanye said, and as a black artist, to not even address the comments, what he says, and you've always been kind of on this pro-black stuff.
And someone who has written an open letter on Mass Appeal directed at Donald Trump, so, after he got in the office.
I just kind of would like to know, Nasir, where do you stand on this? And like for all the people that are working, Elise Pusha said something on it, whether I agree with it or not, or Tiana Taylor spoke on it, whose album Kanye just produced, but Nas really has said nothing here at all whatsoever. All right, let's get to your man, Freddie Gibbs. He drops.
Speaking of things I will be replaying.
Yeah, well, that's a shock. Your man. Now, here's the thing about this Freddie Gibbs project, right? He drops this. Thank you.
Pause.
He drops this out of. I said pause. Why? Like, I don't even know. Anyway, he drops this out of nowhere, as you said.
Yes.
And here's the thing that I liked. I loved his rollout, if you want to call that, for this album.
It's good marketing.
Here you've got Freddie Gibbs talking over these 80s, late 70s, early 80s R&B style beats. Freddie's in this cream suit with the I don't even know what color. It's kind of a red, off red, pinkish, and he's got this whole R&B late 70s, early 80s vibe.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought he was going to go in this, maybe he was going to kind of go to this kind of love album with this kind of vibe. Almost the way Ghostface Killer did with that Ghostini, Wizdini, and Poetry.
Yeah.
Which is actually an album I enjoyed more than a lot of other people did, because I kind of liked the direction he went in. I thought he executed it well and had some fun with some songs.
Right.
I thought Mr. Gibbs was going to do that. He didn't really go and do that here. I did not love the production on this album. I thought it was okay. I thought there were a couple songs I like. I think Too Legit was one that stood out to me that I actually really liked on there. There was another song. But I'm probably not revisiting this anytime soon, honestly.
When I heard it, I was like, this isn't going to be something that Dexter really likes. But I also told you that this is, and he's built a solid discography, Freddie Gibbs has. This is something that I don't even think is one of his best projects, but it's solid for what it is. And I was telling Matt, our executive producer, this earlier. It's great for what it is. It's a 10-track mixtape. It's 25 minutes long. You could tell that this is kind of a, if in boxing we would call this a stay busy fight, where you just take the fight to, let people, remind people that you're still here before you're on to the next bigger project. And he's basically said on his Instagram story, this is first and Bandana's next, which leads me to believe that will be later this year, maybe even at the top of next year. But this project, you take it for what it is. Is this something that you're going to sit down and listen to and analyze it? Maybe not, but this is great for driving. This is great for working out.
I'll pass them both for
that. It serves its purpose. And what I do like, and this is why I like him to begin with, yes, he does some of the trappy stuff that other rappers do, but when he does that, the beats are usually better, as they are here, and he's actually rapping. He actually raps when he does these kind of things.
My thing is, it's what I see a lot in Freddie Gibbs is a lot of rapping, especially on this project, about the same thing. I'm just at a point where I'm listening to rap where it's like the over glorification of the gangster lifestyle. Not that he raps badly, because I've never said that about him. You know that. I said he could rap. It's just not what I'm necessarily dying to hear.
But it is a mixtape.
And that's fine.
On his albums, there's more.
And I felt like we spoke about this off when we texted about this. I felt like on You Only Live Twice, I felt like there was more diversity there. So maybe for me personally, I'm just more excited to hear album Freddie Gibbs, but I'd probably be more intrigued by that than necessarily mixtape Freddie Gibbs. And that's fine. And there's always distinction between artists for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I am. I think that's where where we differ. Sonically, I didn't love the album. And maybe content, subject matter, I didn't necessarily care for. But I can't say that it wasn't like Freddie Gibbs wasn't rapping. I wouldn't say that at all.
Right.
The other big news that's been going on, or at least in hip hop that happened last week, was the death of XXXTentacion. If I said that, I might have messed that wrong, and I don't really care. And that's no disrespect to him, but I try to shorten it up because I'm not going XXX.
We'll just go XXX.
Yeah, we'll go XXX.
But God bless
XXX, rest in peace. Shot, obviously fatally in his car. And there's a lot to unpack around this and what has been going on with this and the reaction to it afterward. There's been a great debate about how some people reacted. There appears for me to be, I think there's three different kinds of people in their reaction to this here, right? You've got the people, and I think these people are extremely wrong, and they're saying, yo, he wasn't a good person. Who cares? He died. I think those people, I think that's wrong. I don't think you ever say it about anybody when they passed away. And it's wrong.
Especially not right after.
And to clarify that, Bryan, you could probably shed a little bit more light on this. XXX had some incidents of which he was not convicted, but I believe was arrested on these, allegedly beating up his pregnant ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
And also beating up a guy which an attack that appeared to be homophobic, in which he thought this guy was looking at him, appeared to be gay, and he beat him up. I don't condone any of those acts. They're both absolute horrible, heinous acts. And I think that, I'll be honest, I'm going to come on the hip-hop community, I think these things he's done have been ignored. And now in his death, when other people want to bring it up, and I think rightfully so, some people still don't want to address those issues. Now, I mentioned the first group that exists. The other group that exists, I think, are the people that are kind of like, yo, he did some horrible things and put out some bad energy, and I really don't have a lot of empathy for him right now, and I'm not necessarily going to say these great words because now he's passed away. And I understand where those people are coming from. They just don't have a lot of empathy for it. They're not saying they don't feel sorry for his family. Obviously, you're sorry when anybody loses a child or anything like that, and that's that. The other side, the last side of the people that I think are coming on, are people that are like, hey, this person, he's a kid, he's 22 years old, he's made mistakes, he's young, so they're going to totally ignore any accountability for his past behavior.
And they compare him to Malcolm X.
Yeah, I'll get into that in a second. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think those people are excusing the behavior he did and are trying to act that his youth in some way excuses him from knowing right and wrong in these things that he was accused of doing, and there's supposedly evidence of him doing. Look, how old ever he was, 20, you know that beating up a pregnant woman is wrong. You know attacking somebody because of their perceived sexuality is also wrong.
Agreed.
So where I stand on this is XXX has put out some bad energy. And I believe energy comes around. And some of that energy came back to him. Now, God rest the dead, and I hope his family can deal with this tragedy. But that's the truth of the matter and what we're living here, and it's not wrong for somebody to say that.
I'll say this much, not really in his defense, but he apparently did impact the lives of a lot of like younger, the younger audience that he really connected to, and talking about mental health and things like that, where his project was kind of, was very deep and dark in that way. And it seemed like he was making the changes to sort of get out of that, because he wasn't out here like at the level of Tekashi 69, for example, before he was tragically, slain in, I think it was Miami, Florida, or somewhere in Florida. So, but with that being said, I identify with, I don't know which group, maybe sort of that second group where I'm kind of like, I don't know if I feel a ton of empathy because he did those things necessarily, but I do feel empathy for the fact that, at the end of the day, he was 20 and he was somebody who seemed like he was going in the direction of making a better change for himself and maybe the people around him. That said, I don't think we need to really eulogize everybody in the same way where, they're all of a sudden the greatest of all time just because they died. Like at the end of the day, people are more so appreciated when they're dead, but a lot of people also get overrated in their deaths. So, I think we may see some of that as well. But I think with XXX, it sucks, and I think that I don't think people are going to wake up yet You know what I mean? I see Tekashi69 commenting like, oh, I'm going to stop trolling, this and that. I don't think he is. I don't think this is enough. And, you know, there was also a rapper in Pittsburgh whose name is escaping me that died also during all these events and things like that. I don't think that this is going to change enough in hip-hop until we sort of unfortunately see more of it, because I don't think it's going to register, because people are just so prone to these phones, and just when we see violence, we're just sort of numb to it at this point.
Yeah, I think it is a problem in hip hop. I think when you don't address these issues when they happen at all, then you turn to have things where people aren't necessarily making excuses and making tweets like Jadena made, which I think is absolutely ridiculous and stupid, and saying that, oh, well, if Malcolm X died when he was 22, then we wouldn't have known what he'd been. But here's the thing. Malcolm X did die at 22. And when you die and you've done a certain amount of things in your life, people are going to remember you for the things that you did, whether it's good or bad.
And in Malcolm X's case, they weren't going to remember him because he just would have been another dude from Harlem.
Right. But here's the thing. No matter what happens at the end, if I start doing a whole bunch of bad stuff, everything I did before, even if it was good, people are going to start forgetting it. You know what? My eulogy and obituary is not going to be that great, and I wouldn't have earned it. That's just how it goes sometimes, and I agree with you. Everybody doesn't always deserve this great eulogy obituary. Are we just bringing them up to this other level where we don't even know that they are or were deserving of that? Yeah. Especially most of us, we don't know all of us. We don't know Triple X like that.
And a lot of people.
But my heart does go out.
And a lot of people will act like that. But in closing, one last thing. I was completely annoyed by how this kind of circulated, because I found out on Twitter on video.
Yes,
there was a video of him
crazy, man,
in the car, and as soon as you see it, you're like, oh, he's gone. But there's people recording it as opposed to getting him help, and he's just there, just like slumped over in a car. Not even slumped over. He's like, you know, his eyes are rolled back, whatever. And now, again, we're in this era where people are so addicted to their phones and Snapchatting and Instagram stories and things like that, where the first instinct that they're doing, the first instinct they have to do is to get their phones and record something, as opposed to actually helping the phone, because people aren't really living, and people helping the person because people aren't really living anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? And like, they're not going out and helping them because they're just like, yo, I got to put this video out so I could get retweets and likes. And Overtime did that, because as soon as he died, he was on a video. They had a video of him playing football looking like Odell Beckham, talking about, oh, RIP XXXTentacion, throwback to happier times. They put a video of him playing football, trying to traffic on his death, and that was disgusting.
I'm glad for you calling him out. Overtime, that's whack. All right, on that note, I'm saying society, we got to do better on that. It's not just a hip-hop issue, it's a society issue. That's it. We talked to you about some great topics here in hip-hop. Let us know. Give us the comments. What do you think about the Nas album? What do you think about Bryan's love for Freddie Gibbs and Freddie Gibbs' new project? What do you think about everything surrounding the Triple X situation and how it's been covered, how people have reacted to it? Let us know. You can always hit us up on Twitter at AHTT Podcast. Stay tuned for the next time on Ain't Hard to Tell Podcast Extra.